Good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to see you all. Welcome to our SAMR training today. My name is Natalia Razavon. I'm your tech integrator if you are not aware of that. Today, I'm here with Megan Jones, and we're going to be starting now and explaining you a little more what SAMR is. It's not a dude, something better. Megan.
Okay, so I'm Megan Johns. I'm your instructional coach. I'm sure many of you have already seen my face many times now. We're going to start by talking about the norms.
Yep.
And the norms, mute your microphone unless sharing, embrace the challenge to grow, be present as much as possible. I know that some of us have little ones at home that can distract us. And then also we can respond in the chat box and you can respond to one another. Natalia and I'll be monitoring that when we can. Our learning intentions are for participants to be able to explain SAMR, and then participants will utilize SAMR at the end of the session with multiple applications. So there is a survey there.
No problem. All right, guys. So what am I going to do is I'm going to be sharing this poll everywhere on the chat. And if you guys can please just click on it and answer the question that is right there, is in your screen as well. So what do we know about SAMR? So I give you like a second for you guys to answer if possible. We will be sharing this presentation with you right after the presentation. So make sure just click the link that I put on the chat.
So I'm going to show you the results. So if you use Poll Everywhere, then it gives you a way to look at the results. You can use it in something like this, or you can use it as a exit ticket. So if you use Poll Everywhere, you can see the results. We have a lot of people here that 71% haven't heard of it. Some have heard of it. There are very few people, though, that are attending that have really played with it. So that informs us for what we're going to be running into. Talking about SAMR, I know all of the middle school teachers have already been exposed to this during our PLCs, but it's just an overview again for everybody else. SAMR, and some people say SAMR, they say it different ways, but the S stands for substitution, the A is for augmentation, M is for modification, and R is redefinition. So we're looking at our uses of technology and how it either enhances or transforms educational experiences of our students. So if we're looking at this, it's somebody wondering what's in the ocean. So if they have no technology, they can only see what's in the ocean based on standing on shore. Substitution is they're getting in a boat, so they're still only able to see down into the water, but with the use of the boat, there's a little bit of an upgrade. You can see into some more of the water. And then with augmentation, it's still a direct tool substitute, but there's an improvement in the functionality of it. So using a snorkel, they can still only see, but they can go down a little bit further. They still have to stay pretty close, though, to water level. With the modification, the technology allows for a significant task redesign, which comes with somebody that has the scuba gear. They can go down deeper and they can possibly touch and engage with the fish and the sea life. And then redefinition is when the tech allows for the creation of new tasks that were previously inconceivable. So this can be a submarine that can go even deeper into the ocean than a person can go by themselves. So we're going to use this model to look at how we utilize technology in the classroom. We're going to walk through each piece of this and then give you some examples as we go through. Natalia is going to pick up from there.
Yeah, Megan, if you actually can model something for you guys, I know some people is having issues with their screen. Megan will be managing my screen while I'm presenting, but Megan, if you please go to your Meet, because I want to show people how they can have the spotlight on the presentation. That would be fantastic. So if you see here, Megan, no, do you want me to present?
I got it. I just had to change because I was in a window.
Okay, no problem. So here is Megan, and she's signing into her presentation. I want you to please, if you don't mind, go to the bottom by story's name. You will see that it will show up, you're presenting and the three dots. Those are actually called the vertical ellipses. And in the vertical ellipses, if you mind to change your layout, so go all the way to change layout, and then you're gonna go to spotlight for you guys to be able to see the screen. So in that case, it will be better for everybody. So hopefully that will solve everybody's problem. Thank you, Megan. Now if you can go back to the presentation. So with the revolution of technology, we are utilizing everything as the best of our capacities. However, I remember that when I became a teacher, we always were focusing on the blue taxonomy. What was our purpose to teach these kids? How we want them to remember, understand, apply, analyze the content that we were giving them. And we were always trying to shoot for them to create. So this is how the SAMR chart focus on the Bloom taxonomy. How are we going to make those kids go from remembering something that we are teaching in the classroom to be able to take ownership of that content and create? So that's when technology start taking place nowadays. Next slide, please. So for the ones that don't know, I'm a super big fan of Brain Pop, and I feel that Brain Pop is underutilized all the time. So what happened here is we have a bunch of activities on Brain Pop. Most of us at the beginning, we utilize Brain Pop only for the movie and the video. So we are just staying on that surface level of the Bloom's taxonomy. We are maybe in the beginning of substitution and maybe augmentation. We are trying to apply what is in the classroom, maybe found like background knowledge, but we don't really know what else to do after that. So all the applications that we have on the class link allow us to go deeper. So here you guys can see that Brain Pop not only have movies and quizzes, but you guys can also have the kids create their own movies on Brain Pop. How do we do that? That's another topic that you guys can go and look on my learning plan. Is actually a Brain Pop online course. But that's how you guys can go and have that deeper understanding, how you can start coding. We do have free coding with Brain Pop. We can also have like make the students take that content and apply the information that they have got. All right, Megan, go to the next one, please. We also have applications like Newsela. How can I apply the SAMR using Newsela? So honestly, remember that the old-fashioned way was like reading news articles from the newspaper. I remember one of my social studies teacher, always that was part of the homework for every day, make sure that I read an article on the newspaper or even watch the news on the TV. Nowadays, the kids have access to all that through technology, through a different platform, like Newsela, for example. So I can substitute my reading on the paper for reading an article. How do I take the article in a deeper level? What do I do? As like me as a teacher, I can define text sets that it will be applicable to the subject that I'm teaching, creating those personalized articles for my students to be able to read, to apply their thinking, to do writing pieces about it. So that's something that we go from a simple substitution of giving them an article to redefine how we're going to be using the article and how that's going to be affecting the learning and teaching in my own classroom. Next one, Megan, please. So again, we are going back to a traditional lesson. I may have my normal lesson. I will be giving my students a quiz. Then they will have to answer. I may be using my whole class period. I may using 15 minutes, but that will be the old-fashioned way. That's how I was learning when I was a child. I was in my classroom, the teacher gave the lesson. I was even telling someone that I remember a teacher that used to come to the class, stand up front, lecture us the whole time, and we're supposed to be taking notes and then take a test. So that's something to take in mind. Next one, Megan, please. All right, so what do I do to make sure that I take that next step, substitution? What do I do? So something that you need to think about, like a question to consider, is what I will gain by replacing one technology for the other. You need to think not only what you're going to gain as a teacher, but what the students are going to gain. Is this something that is actually going to help me to go in a deeper level? Remember that the word technology means that something that is going to make your life easier too. So it doesn't mean only to use computers. Using technology can be used anything in your classroom that is going to make your life easier. Substitute. So here we have examples using some of the Google products. Maybe I can take notes, like the kids used to take notes, like handwriting, and going back to that example when I was little, that I was like handwriting my notes. Maybe another use, a simple substitution would be just taking my notes in a Google Doc, on a Google Keep. What is that going to help me for? That's what the question that I need to think. Is it better that I take notes by handwriting, or is it better that I take my notes through Google Keep or Google Docs? So those are questions that you need to make sure you ask yourself when you are creating your lessons based on the SAMR model. Next one, Megan, please. All right, so we have again the typical quiz with the answers. What am I going to substitute it with? You can distribute the quiz in the Google Forms, have the students fill out in the computer. Nothing really have changed much. The only thing is that they are not going to be taking the quiz handwriting. They're just going to do it on the computer. So I substituted. It's not really making my kids to go in a higher level thinking. It's not really making my students gain anything extra from it. It's just substituting, replacing one thing for another thing that is going to pretty much keep the same use, same standards that I had before. So I'm not going anything besides just replacing. Go to the next one, Megan, please. So here we have some action words that you may think about, some activities, and some applications that you may use when you are substituting. When we start this pandemic and we went to these distance learning, we were doing a lot of substitution. We were trying just to substitute what we were doing in the classroom for things that we were able to do with the technology. Now, we have been in this for like 2 months. So right now we are taking the extra step maybe for next school year, we're going to, instead of substitute something, we are going to go and then we going to take that extra step. We're going to make sure that we do the augmentation part to our lessons. But again, activities for substitution is like, I need to describe, I need to summarize, I can use my Google Docs, I need to make sure I use my Google Classroom. But then again, I replaced one article that my kids maybe were reading in my classroom on paper for an article that they will read in a newsletter. So those are some examples. Next, please, Megan. All right, so now what am I going to do is the basic that everybody was doing at the beginning. How can I substitute my paper? And I'm going to take over from here, Megan, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So how am I going to take that paper that I have in my classroom and make sure that I have it in my classroom, in my Google Classroom, available for my students? Here, I have a PDF document. As you guys are aware, we cannot make these PDF documents. If I share a PDF document in my Google Classroom with my students, they won't be able to modify, alter, use it. They would have to take this paper, print it. Many people don't have printers anymore. It's very rare sometimes find a printer at home. So we are not actually easing the process. We will be creating a problem. So what do? I want to walk you really quick through here. I have this PDF in my file. I'm actually going to make it smaller so you guys can visualize the whole page. I have it right here. Something that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I take a picture of that PDF. So I'm going to go to my little pencil here on the right bottom corner. And then when I click right there, it's going to take me to the sketch screen sketch. And then what am I going to do is I'm going to take my crop tool on the top and I'm going to take a picture of this PDF. So I can do this one right here. Super simple. Then I'm going to make sure I save it to my computer. I'm going to name this one PDF1. And you can put it anywhere you want to. You can even go to your Google Drive and actually put it on your Google Drive. For the purpose of today, I'm just going to put it right here on my desktop so it's easier for me to find it. So then I save it. I got it right there. And you do not need to copy the whole page. You actually can take pieces out of it. Like let's say I want to do just a piece right here. Again, I go to my pencil. I come to my PDF. I crop it and I say, you know what? I'm just going to do little pieces, step by step. No, the whole page is your choice, whatever you want to do. Then I'm going to save it and I'm going to name it PDF2. All right, perfect. Then something that you want to do is you want to make sure that you actually create a Google Slides. So I'm going to come here to my drive. And then I'm going to go to Google Slides. When I'm creating a Google slide, you're going to have it right here. The first thing that I need to know to make a PDF interactive for a substitution of a paper in your classroom is making sure if I'm putting a whole page for my kids to work, this doesn't look like an 8 by 11, right? So I need to make sure I come here to File. And then on File, I'm going to come here to the bottom where it says Page Setup. And in Page Setup, I'm going to change the view of my screen from wall screen to custom. And here, I'm going to make sure that I have the page the size that I do want it. So be very aware of that. So I'm going to do 8.5 by 11 inches. And I'm going to apply it. So what's going to happen now? My document has become the size of a paper that I have in my classroom. Now, do I need this? Not really. So I go here to the top where it says layout. And I'm going to make sure I change my layout for a plain basic document. Now, the picture that I saved previously, I'm going to add it as a background. Remember that with Google, we can do several things in different ways. I really like right-click it, and then right-click it is going to take me directly to change by background. So I'm going to do that one. Click right there. And then I'm going to choose an image. Remember that I saved mine. I didn't save it on my Google Drive this time. I save it on my desktop, and I name it PDF1. So when I'm in PDF1, I have it, no, right there. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Gonna go to desktop, and I'm going to say PDF. And I'm pretty sure I said PDF1. Maybe I didn't. All right, guys. So in this case, I'm gonna do my PDF2. And look at what happened. It's stretched out. Something that I wasn't thinking about is that I couldn't find my PDF1. So maybe that's something that I do need to do and go back, find the page that I want to save and save it. I actually have a video about this that you guys can use. I'm gonna change also the setup here, you guys, just because this is not what I was expecting to do right now. I'm just gonna go back to my white screen and I'm going to apply it. Now I have my picture here. Now what I can do to make it interactive is I'm going to be adding text boxes. So how do I do that? I go here to the top where the little T is. I click on text box. Then that you can see that it's highlighted. When I bring it down here, it's going to make me a square. Look at that. Now it's going to be interactive for my kids to put the signs that I want to. I can also change the kind of font that they use. So like if I want it bigger, let me try it now. You always need to try. And then you need to make sure that you want it in the position that you want it. So now I have it here. Something that I usually do when I'm creating a PDF is I make sure I put borders so the kids know that I do have a box right there to work. After that, I right-click my box and I say copy and then paste. So I have it one time. I usually like to do it faster. I know I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by using my key shortcuts, Control V, and then look at that. Now my sheet will be interactive and ready for me to share in my Google Classroom. You can also put a text box here for the kids to answer the question right there. Again, you can change the size that you want. You always need to try. Make sure that you let the kids know that is a box right there for them to work on. And I have it right there. And I can copy it and bring it right here. So this is a way that I will be substituting my normal worksheets that I have in my classroom for a digital worksheet that I can share with my students using my Google Classroom. Remember that I actually can name it. I can say PDF1 or function whatever, and that's a way to substitute. But I'm not going any deeper anymore. I'm just substituting. I'm allowing my kids to use the same sheets that they did in my class with a pencil to do it virtually in my Google Classroom. All right. So then from here, I'm going to go to Megan, do you want me to continue using my presentation then?
Sure.
Awesome. So I'm going to go right here. And actually, I need to change the view of the presentation because I had it in a specific tab. So that's the only thing I did at this moment. I was on the first phase of SAMR. I was just substituting. Then if I want to go deeper, remember that any application that you use will allow you to go a little deeper. So what do I want to do? Now I want to augmentate. These are the couple things that maybe you need to think about when you're doing it. Have I added an improvement to the task that could not be accomplished with the older technology? How can I make it the extra? How can I contribute to my design? So again, the definition of augmentation is that it's not directly substituting, but it's adding a functional improvement, okay? So again, some things that you can use is making notes with links on websites, images, highlighting, etc. So again, traditional lesson, taking the quiz, answer, blah, blah, blah. The same thing that we had before. We say that in the substitution, we actually were creating a Google form and people was taking the quiz, the students were taking the quiz. I would receive it. I didn't change my form settings. I wasn't grading it right away. I was just changing the paper for a digital platform. Here though, I'm going to do a little more than that. What am I going to do is I'm going to change the settings on my Google form for my students to get immediate feedback. So that's the extra step that I'm taking. So originally, I create the form, send it out. My go a little farther is like send them, make sure that I grade it right away. If there are multiple choice questions, you can actually set it up for the kids as soon as they take the quiz, bah, they get their scores if they are multiple choice and if it's something that I do not need to actually read right away. So that's how you get that extra augmentation. Here we have some action words again, like construct, categorize, demonstrate, then activities that you actually can ask your students and yourself to do with the kids. You will notice that many of the applications that we are using here are going to be going over in different parts of the SAMR model. I may have brain pop in my substitution, but then what step do I go forward to actually make it an augmentation? It's kind of like the Newsella, like I create the reading to go online, but what do I do to make that Newsella article go a step forward? Maybe taking the quiz, maybe highlighting in Newsella, like asking the kids highlight all the opinions that you find on this article, things like that. All right, so then some two applications that you guys are also, like today, the purpose of this training is also that you guys find out things that are in your ClassLink applications that we are using here in Resin Unify for you guys to apply the SAMR model. Something that people is not aware that we have is the co-writer and the snap and read. If you don't know what those two are extensions that you actually can see it on the top, maybe not, because again, the way that I'm presenting. So I'm going to be showing my whole screen so you guys can actually see how that look. So I have it right here. And then I have extensions here on the top. Those are my little extensions. Those are things that actually help me with Google. Here I have the little cloud, and I also have a little target. Those are my co-writer and my snap and read. So what the co-writer does, the co-writer is an application. When you click on it, the only thing that you need to do, maybe it's not going to take you to the same screen as me if you have never used it. It's going to ask you, if it's the first time that you are using it, it's going to ask you to sign up for the application. And when you sign up for the application, you need to make sure that you are doing it with Google. So if I go to co-writer, let's say I'm here, it's going to take you right here. Obviously, again, it may be asking you to sign up with Google. Is actually not the same screen that you will get, but something similar. I just want to make sure that you guys got it. But anyway, I'm here. I turn it on. And when I'm turning on the co-writer, it's going to be working with my computer. And the way that it works is that every time you guys are working on anything that is writable, then it's going to prompt you to work with the application. In what sense? In the sense that if I'm typing something and it's turning on because the little cloud is blue, and as you can see here, immediately I step on a Google document, it's prompting me what you want to write down. So this is an extension that your students will be able to utilize. Now, when it's the end of the year and the students have never used this application, it may be a little harder, but you can actually utilize it next year, for example. So if I have students that are not the best at reading and writing, they can do this. The first step is
to be found.
Natalia, can I jump in?
Yep.
So I didn't know about these tools because I work with older students, and I think that they can still be applicable. But if you bring it back, because the little co-writer thing went away, I used it actually with my daughter because she was struggling with writing. She's only a second grader and she's in dual language. And she used the mic today to tell her story. I was having a hard time getting her to write a story because she's just not used to writing. And she told the computer the story, and now we're going back and we're editing it. So that's, I think, for me, the best function, the best feature of it. And then you can also use it. I didn't know this until today, but you can highlight text on the internet and it'll read it to you.
Yeah, but also the Snap and Read will be that for that as well. So these are excellent applications. I mean, I know that Mitchell goes from K through 8. You know, we have some 8th graders that maybe are not the best writers or not the best readers. So that's something to keep in mind. So, okay, so far for modeling, if you do need, if you have questions about these applications, don't hesitate to contact me. I will be able to help you. Again, so I have the extension right here on the top. I know sometimes it's hard to see it right here. Then I'm going to turn it off because I'm going to move to my next extension. And my next extension is my Snap and Read. And this has been lifesaver for many teachers. The same way I turn it off here, if it's the first time that you are using it, it's probably going to take you to a central page that is going to ask you to sign up. You want to sign up with your Google credentials because our accounts are linked to Snap and Read and they are also linked to the co-writer. So mine is already turned on. I'm going to turn it on. As you can see, my target turns blue. So that means it's on. Now, something though that I do not see when I turn on the application, on the side, I'm going to find a bar that is actually telling me that it's already on, but I do not see it. So I'm going to try different other stuff. I'm going actually to go to Cultograms. This is an application that we do have in our Google class, in our class link, my apologies. And then let's say that I'm teaching a social studies class and we are talking about this website and you actually ask the kids to read this. If I'm if I'm having difficulties reading, this is going to be really difficult and hard for me. And I won't be able to perform by myself. I won't be able to work by myself. So how are you expecting the child to do that activity? How are we going to augmentate it, actually make it easier and more fun for the kids? And I have used this application in classrooms, elementary classrooms, and the kids are amazed. They actually want to read. So what do I do here? Now you can see that my bar is showing here on the side. I actually can click on the speak. And
What is culture? Culture can be said to be those customs, values, beliefs, traditions, and institutions that create and mediate
okay, so it will be reading it for me. You can change your settings either of co-writer or Snap and Read by clicking right there and actually going to the options. Okay, so that's another way. Again, if you need help, I can help you with that. Something else that I want to show you is that if you are teaching in a dual language class, you can also use the translator. I mean, sometimes it's good, sometimes.
Culture can be said to be those
let me turn off first. I need to turn off the microphone first. But then I can come here and maybe click right there and look at that. It translated for me. Me as a Spanish speaker, I had to tell you, it's not that bad. It's actually really good translation. So something to keep in mind. I love this tool just because I use it with my own kids in the sense that sometimes they are reading and they jump from a place to place. So you actually can, instead of jumping, they can do the highlighter to go from line to line. You also have the ability to make words easier. We have this one here, the simplify vocabulary. If you guys pay a little attention, there are going to be some words that may be changed when I click right there. And as you can see, they became italic. And that means that those words may be simplified. They may not, they may be. So I haven't really seen. Let's see, I'm going to go to extremely important. Let's see what word was there before. Crucial. So they changed crucial connections for extremely important. So those are two great applications that you can utilize to augment your technology usage in the classroom and make sure the purpose is that actually you're helping your students. Megan, any questions?
There are a couple of them. I think I knew the answer to one of them. One is, then can they use Snap and Read with elementary level books? And then
Absolutely.
the other one is, does it read line by line if highlighted?
Yes. So actually, good job. Yeah, good questions. Let's say I do know one. So I'm gonna click it. I don't know want to put it here and just start reading
What is
everything.
culture?
Something that you can do is actually use the crop thing here on the corner, this little tool, and you actually can go not only a line, but you can say only a word that maybe you don't know what that means or you don't know what it sounds. The problem with cropping is that you need to make sure that you're cropping the whole,
Sonicons.
because in that case, do you see what it does? It says Sonicons instead of connections because it cut it off. So I need to make sure that I do have the whole word.
Unicons.
Yep. So that's the problem right here, that sometimes, it's hard to crop that part, but you still can do it. You can do parts, words, or whole sentences. Alrighty. Are we ready to move on?
I think so.
Awesome. All right. So this is my augmentation part. All right. But how can I actually modify something that I maybe substitute, I augmented? How can I go to the next level? So people think that using the SAMR model is actually very difficult, and they try to keep rethinking and reinventing the wheel. And something super minimum can take you from substitution all the way to modification. So things to think in mind is that does this modification fundamentally depend upon a new technology? Maybe not. Maybe I just need to do a very small change. How do I modify that original task? And how does this modification contribute to my design? So something to think in mind. Remember that modification is meaning that the technology is allowed for a significant test redesign, and redesigning it. But again, it doesn't mean that you're completely changing something drastically. Sometimes the most minimum things can redesign the task. Okay? So just to keep in mind, traditional lesson. Go ahead.
I would say, I feel like this is where I was supposed to have picked up.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. You're on a roll. With modification, that's going back to the traditional lesson, it's taking a quiz and just handwriting it out. With modification, it's using an alternative form of assessment. So students could be asked to write an essay around a relevant theme, and it could be written and then they could narrate it and capture it as a vocal recording and share that out. So it's just taking it to another level and walking away from the quiz assessment to another kind of assessment. On the next slide, we'll see some of the activities. So the action words actually came from a wheel that we'll show you later. They came from Bloom's. So with modification, we're looking at words like examine, compare, classify, critique, defend, prioritize. Some of the activities could be summarizing, self-evaluation, creating multimedia matchups. And then there's a list of apps again. Again, you're going to see a lot of the apps repeating themselves because they can be used at different levels. It depends on how you're utilizing the apps, as we talked about earlier with Newsella. One of the ones that's on here is a Jeopardy slideshow. It's actually from Slide Carnival, and it's all done. You just have to put in your questions, and it's all ready to run. So that's all set up for you. On the next slide, we have an example of modification. I know some of you have already kind of been following the Bitmoji classroom craze. So this is a scavenger hunt. So this is something that you could have your students do. I'm going to throw the link in the chat box and give you a couple of minutes to explore it. Natalia, can you go to the next slide? On the next slide, this is our virtual office. And the first thing that you should do when you open it up, I just put the link in our chat, is to go to me. I'm on the far right with the computer. And if you click on it, it'll give you directions. And then I'll just give you like maybe 3 minutes to go around, and you can click on different options in the classroom, and it'll be different things that you can do. You don't actually have to do anything. We're just giving you a couple of minutes to kind of experiment and see what kinds of things you can put in here. So we're going to come back in about 3 minutes at 1:48. So you have 2 minutes now? So when you click on the link, it should take you to just a slide that looks like the one that was on the screen. And then if you hit, even if you don't hit present, you should be able to click on people. It'll change to an arrow, I believe, on the things that you can click on. And there are links that are underneath them. In the chat, there's a link that you have to click on to get to the slide. Okay, so maybe I'll demonstrate it to you for those of you that aren't able to do it. Natalia, can you click on me? Or if you want me to take over so I can do that stuff? I don't know that you'll be able to hear it because she didn't open it in Chrome. But
Sorry.
it tells you.
Yeah, you can.
Thanks for stopping by. Feel free to click around on the different objects and complete the activities that are linked. Thanks for joining us.
So everybody, if you guys can actually come back here, you can see that Megan redesigned this Google Classroom. You may say, oh my gosh, how long did it take you? It did take Megan a while to probably make this. Now, the thing is, do I need to redesign and I need to do a big emoji every time I try to do augmented or modify lesson? No, she can just change little things around. So as you can see, when I step in here on the top of Megan, I click on the play.
Hi, everybody, welcome
Can you guys hear?
Our virtual office. Yes. Thanks for stopping by. Feel free to click around on the different objects and complete the activities that are linked. Thanks for joining us.
Okay. So this is the other thing. She added this, but she doesn't need to change the whole classroom. She may change the sound for the next week. So we have here, like things that are clickable. Oops.
Like Natalia's clickable, Amanda's clickable, so are the pillows. So they'll take you to different websites, like that's an activity that kids could complete. I think if you click on Amanda, it takes you apparently to a video on SAMR.
Technology has the power to transform student learning. But what happened?
So these are links that she has added to the graphic. Oh, our timer is done.
If you were to create one of these, and you'll get access to a link that explains how to do it because we don't have the time to explain it to you. But if it interests you, you could make one classroom, and then the only thing that I modified from the one that I had previously made is I added the technology poster and I added the links, and that didn't take too much time. So it's
correct. And there are so many
a little bit more interactive.
So again, all the resources will be in the presentation, you guys. So just make sure that remember that they will be in the presentation. Megan, you want to take over?
The screen or talking?
The screen. I can continue presenting if you want, like presenting the screen.
You mind if I do? I feel like I have a little bit more control over it.
Yep, go for it.
Okay. So then you have that as an option of one of the things that you could do with modification. The last one that we're going to talk about is redefinition. With redefinition, remember, it's creating a task that was previously inconceivable. So what is the new task? What portion of the original task remains? Is the new task uniquely made possible by the new technology? And then how does it contribute to the design of it? And then one of the uses with Google is to do a virtual tour or to use Google Sites that can be shared around the world. The traditional lesson, again, is taking that quiz, and a redefinition way of doing it is having the students create a documentary video answering an essential question related to the important concept. You could even go as far as have them working on teams to create their final product. With redefinition, some of the action words related are justify, design, transform, hypothesize, invent. Some of the activities could be storytelling, creating a cartoon, doing some video casting, which we'll touch on in a minute, possibly a court trial. And then there's a list again of applications. I feel like the only new ones are the Discovery Ed virtual field trips and the Google Earth. This is something I found online. I just modified it slightly. A teacher created their own cartoon to explain something, and then the students are then tasked with going and doing something similar and finding the pictures and putting themselves in there, but doing a similar thing. So actually having the students create it instead of the teacher creating it for the students. Just trying to pay attention to time. So we have, I think, a couple of minutes. Natalia, if you wouldn't mind putting the Flipgrid link in the chat. And then what we're going to ask you to do is to go to Flipgrid. And I know I've asked some of you to do it in the past, but it's something that for us as educators, it's just for you to play with, and you can introduce yourself and state a fun fact about it. Make sure when you're logging into this, you're using your Google RUSD account, and then you can make a video. So with your students, you could use this and you can give them a question that they have to respond to using a Flipgrid. And obviously you have to teach them procedures and expectations and things like that. But then students could respond to each other using Flipgrids. They can respond through a video, or they could respond by just commenting. So I think Natalia is putting the link in there. Thought we changed this, apparently not. There was an explanation of how to use it that's linked there. I'm going to go in here to Flipgrid so I can see my topic details, and it was just to the directions where, hi everybody, create a Flipgrid, introducing yourself, and then you can see that Natalia and I both made ours, and you can click on it. I don't know if you can hear what I said because of the sound. I don't know if I chose Chrome, but you can go in and play with it yourself and try to create one. But it's something you could use for your students, especially when we're talking about distance learning. It's something that you could utilize. You can turn on the responses so they can respond to each other or not. You can move things around. You can delete pieces if you needed to. So it's just an extra tool. I think for time's sake, we're not going to be able to fully do that. I was going to try to give you 5 minutes, but we only have about 5 minutes left, and I want to show you something else. So if you have questions on anything that Natalia and I are sharing with you, feel free to reach out to us because we're both pretty well versed in what we're sharing with you. There's some additional resources that we want to share. We just want to show you this. As we went through the presentation today, you can see that the chunks that are on here were shared in the slides. So for the redefinition slide, the green pieces were shared on the intro to it. So this is where we got it from. It's the entire image. And then one of the last slides is our SAMR Padlet. So I went ahead and started creating a Padlet for us. And I want to introduce it to you because we would really like for you to add to it, because you guys being in the classroom have access to more ideas possibly than we do. So I set up a Padlet, and Padlet is just a place where you can store ideas and links. It can be used as a collaborative space. When I was teaching, I would use it as an activity for students where they would have to go and they would have to reflect on something, or they would have to answer a question of some sort. On the far left, there's just general SAMR resources. This one is a link to the presentation. It's weird. Once you click on it, it'll take you to the presentation if you're logged into Google. There's some videos for SAMR and some articles. This is the wheel that we use to pull those action words off of. It's really hard to see, so we tried to make those charts for you so it's a little bit easier. The SAMR models here, and then there's an article on it. The questions that we used when we were talking to you about it are also on here. And then for each level, it has the action words, it has the activities, it has some apps, and then there's one or two maybe LinkedIn. So for substitution, there's Pull Everywhere. For augmentation, there's Kahoot and Pear Deck. For modification, that Jeopardy slideshow, which will show up once you click on that. For the redefinition piece, there's Discovery Ed and Google Earth, because those are all specific to those areas. Kahoot is going to be augmentation. There's not much more you can do with it. If you go over to the right, though, you'll see resources for all. So we talked about Flipgrid can be used in many different ways. So can Newsella and BrainPop, Padlet, the Bitmoji Classroom, Jamboard, which middle school will learn more about at our PLC for sure. Other people, if you're interested, just let us know. Nearpod. We give you some screencasting options and then some voice recording. The voice recording will come in handy if you're going to do something with the Bitmoji Classroom or something similar to that. As a language teacher, I often recorded myself and put it on, I would put it in a Google form and then have the students listen and answer questions to it. Obviously, I recorded myself in Spanish, but it was a very handy tool. Cast-O-Matic is the one that I would recommend for teachers to use for screencasting. I don't know if Natalia has another thought on that, but that's the one that I've seen gives you the most amount of time. I was using Screencastify for a lot of distance teachers have it. It only gives you so much time and it wasn't enough. And then somebody recommended Loom to me yesterday. So I have not tried that myself, but the voice recording and the other screencastings are ones that I've used. So that's ours. Natalia or I will post that in our virtual moving forward classroom so that everybody has access to it. And then the other thing I wanted to add is please add your ideas. I know Sherry mentioned a couple of websites that she's been utilizing. If you're not sure what they are, put them in the far right column that are apps for all, if you're not really sure about it. But just so we have more resources, so we have a go-to point to get some additional technology and digital resources. Natalia, were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, if you have observed also that I make a little PD on how to record yourself using Google Meet. So that can be another option for that one. Also, to finalize this session, I know we have thrown tons of information at you. This information was more for you to realize what's the difference in the SAMR model and how you can utilize the different applications. So you do not need to be a master. You do not need to use them all. We just want to get your feet wet. And we will be doing a little more of this. I know it's almost the end of the year, but we just want to introduce it to you. This presentation is recorded. We're going to share it with you. And I also just shared the evaluation. Remember that if you follow the evaluation, you will get a certificate of participation for your hour of time. Again, thank you so much to all of you.
I want to add something, sorry, before you end it. The other thing that I wanted to add is that when we're talking about the 4 different levels, it's just to bring awareness that you're considering the different levels. So if you're doing something and you could do it better with redefinition and it's not something that would be too much work, that you utilize that other application and you're using other sources. We're not saying you should be going for redefinition every time. I don't know that that's possible, but just keeping in mind so that you're not always just substituting or you're not always just augmenting, that you're going to those higher levels occasionally when it suits your content and what you're doing. So just wanted to make sure we're not trying to tell you to, always reach for redefinition, but definitely consider what you're teaching. And if redefinition fits your social studies and you can use Google Earth. I mean, there's so many amazing things you could see on there that you can't out of the textbook. So just trying to open your mind to that.
Very good.
Saying thank you for everybody for coming.